Welcome to another great edition of Beacons of Light. And joining me today are two special men that are so important to our work at St. Vincent de Paul, Mr. Gerry Drago and Mr. Fred Skelton. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.
And the idea for this show came together when I saw Fred and I talked to Kelly, and then I thought of Gerry, and I said, that would make a great show. Gerry works in our administrative wing. He is retired from the Office of Community Development, and we begged and pleaded for him to come in a few hours every week to help us out. And Fred, you've been volunteering how long with the pharmacy?
Almost 15 years.
Oh, that's amazing. It's, so we thought we'd put together a staff and volunteer show, which a lot of times we've had that in the past, but we haven't really made it as clear. But y'all have a special relationship. Gerry, how did y'all meet?
Well, we met at the Webb Golf Course probably more than 30 years ago. And we've been friends and playing golf together since then. It's been a great relationship. He's my best friend.
Yeah.
And he's an outstanding golfer.
Now I heard something about he's really good at a certain thing that you've never been able to accomplish.
Right. He's made 5 holes in one.
That's amazing.
And, you have to be good to do that.
Yes.
And he's good.
You
He's
have
very
to be
good.
lucky.
And lucky. and you got to be a man of faith too, which you are.
That's right.
Absolutely.
I see Gerry in church at St. Aloysius all the time at 4:30 Mass. So if anybody wants to find Gerry, you can tune in at 4:30 at St. Aloysius. You come from another faith tradition, Methodist. Tell us a little bit.
I'm a member of First United Methodist Church right downtown here. Brady Whitten is our pastor and just a wonderful leader. And what drew me to this church was its activities in the community.
Right.
When I retired, I looking for something to do, and Hurricane Katrina occurred.
Yes.
And our church organized a mission trip to New Orleans to help with the recovery.
Yes.
And I found that I liked that. But I didn't want to do it just every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so I began looking around for something that I could do to help our community, my home, every week. And in our Sunday school class, we began talking about mission work, and someone mentioned a gentleman named Howard Bolton, who was a member of First United Methodist Church, but I understand was instrumental he was a pharmacist.
Right.
And he was instrumental in founding St. Vincent de Paul's pharmacy.
Yes.
So I got interested and went over there. Kay Kais was the director then.
Yes.
She's semi-retired now, although she's there every day.
Yeah, she's there a lot.
And when I walked through the door, it was like I was a long-lost friend. Just a warm, wonderful greeting. And she told me what they did. Now, I'm not a pharmacist, so I was wondering what I could do. And she explained that just that morning, there had been a very nice donation from a nursing home of some prescriptions that hadn't been used. And she said, what we need is someone to sit down and make sure that those prescriptions have not expired.
Right.
That there's a time limit on how long you can use those pills. And if you'd like to do that, we'd appreciate it. So I sat down, and no sooner had I sat down than one of the pharmacists came out and said, oh, just thank you very much. It was so warm. And every week, it is like that. This is just a warm community.
It is.
My wife now has joined me. She's retired. And we look forward to Friday mornings every single week.
That's great. It's a powerful thing. And Gerry's right across the way in administration. Before we went on camera, I said, Gerry, you ever go see Fred at the pharmacy? And what was your answer?
I said I was too busy.
Exactly.
I have too much work to do.
Yeah, and like Fred can talk about a warm environment, you can also testify to the fact that we do have a warm staff environment, but we don't have a lot of administrators. That's why we beg you to come in to help us out,
Yeah,
right?
that's true. Yeah. Well, I work with a lot of great people there.
Yes.
I mean, Sharon St. Romain, I work with a saint.
That's
I mean,
right.
what can you say? And
Yeah, I
then,
agree with that.
and Cheryl Cochran, and all the people there, they're so nice. Ever since I've been there about 5 years now.
That's right.
And they've been so helpful and so easy to work with. And I really enjoyed being there. And when I get outside, I don't get outside much, just coming and going.
Yeah.
That's about it. And I see all the people that we help.
Yeah.
You know, I see the people we feed. I see the people that we clothe. And I see the people that go to the pharmacy. And I see the neighborhood, people in the neighborhood, I talk to them.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a nice place. It's
No
a
doubt.
good place to work. And I really enjoy it there.
Do you think the general community understands that any given day we've got 500 to 1,000 people coming to us for a meal or a prescription or a bed at the shelter?
I know. I don't think they do. It's amazing what we're able to do.
Yeah.
And the funding that we get, we spend every single bit of it.
Yeah.
I mean, we help people every day. Every day of the year,
Yeah.
we help somebody.
Yeah, we're one of the few charities that can say every day there's a meal, every day there's a bed. You know, prescriptions are in the weekdays, and Fred, you've seen that. You've seen the trickle in of those 500 people. Obviously, we don't help that many people in the course of a day at the pharmacy, but every prescription we fill is life-sustaining.
Absolutely, absolutely. Most people think the pharmacy is going to deal with just homeless people, and we do.
Right.
We do. There are people who are being helped by the St. Vincent de Paul's homeless shelter, but we also deal with a wide spectrum of our community. People who are retired and living on Social Security, and then all of a sudden something happens. They get a health crisis, and they need prescriptions. And unfortunately, even with Medicare, they can't afford them. And St. Vincent de Paul is there to provide that assistance. And I'll tell you, when you see the expression on someone's face, when you say to them, go see the pharmacist, she's going to have that prescription for you, it makes your week. It doesn't make your day, it makes your week to see that expression of happiness on someone's face when you can help.
Yeah, because so many people come to us, they're so desperate in need. And when we come back, we're going to continue to talk about the importance of St. Vincent de Paul's work. I'm going to say a little bit in the next segment about Howard Bolton and how, just like Gerry and Fred lived their faith through St. Vincent de Paul and just helping people in need, Howard was a model and example for all of us to follow when we come back. For over 20 years, the St. Vincent de Paul Community Pharmacy has served our area. We provide prescription medicines for those who have nowhere to turn for this most basic healthcare need. Please, if you need your medicine or you know a family member that needs their medicine, contact us. Kay, how can they get in touch?
383-7450.
Give us a call today and spread the word so that we can ensure no one goes without their prescription medication. When we left the last segment, we were talking about Mr. Howard Bolton. And before we go to visiting again with Gerry and Fred, we're going to talk a little bit about Howard. What a magnificent man. 1993, I was a lot younger. I walked into his office at the State Board of Pharmacy. He was the head of the State Board, and we talked to him along with a volunteer about starting a charitable pharmacy in the state of Louisiana. And what he did was he said, that would be great. He said, how many other St. Vincent de Paul groups have done this in the country? And we said we'd be the first. And from that became the story of the St. Vincent de Paul Community Pharmacy. And he led the way. And when you have the state board director of pharmacy behind you, you really, it makes things happen. And you've seen the fruits of his work, haven't you, Fred?
I have. Most people think of this pharmacy as dealing with homeless people.
Right.
And we
You
do.
said that earlier, yeah.
But there's a wide variety. For instance, a couple of weeks ago, I dealt with a lady from the Ukraine who had escaped that war, was a refugee, came to America, had all the right paperwork, but with the government it takes a while. She had a prescription that she needed. Fortunately, she had an aunt who came with her because she didn't speak English. And so the aunt translated. So it took a little while longer to interview her. But the expression on her face when we said, yes, we're going to have that prescription, it was the best. It made my week. The surprise that she had that in America, a refugee could get that kind of help, it makes it all worth it.
Oh, it does. And I think that the fact that we help one person at a time, whatever their story may be, whether you're Catholic or you're Methodist, you're serving Christ. For I was hungry and you gave me food. So whether they're from the Ukraine or wherever, it's great to be there for those in need, huh, Fred?
It sure is. It makes it all worth it. Your faith says to do something for the community. Jesus said that what you do for the least of them, you do for me. To be able to live that, to see that at St. Vincent de Paul, it makes it.
No doubt. Well, Gerry, in your role, you're part-time because that's all we can get him to work, and I don't blame him. But what would your message, you see great volunteers like Fred, but we also need, like I said earlier, the expertise of people like yourself who may have that. What would your message be to somebody thinking about volunteering or who has the skills and maybe want to work a few hours a week?
Yes, that would be great. That's what I did. I retired in 2014, and I ran into you and Sharon downtown. I was going to pay taxes.
That's right.
And I ran into them, and we said hello, and because I've known you for years.
Yes, indeed.
When I was working at the Office of Community Development. And so I got a phone call that week, and it was Sharon. She said, would you be interested in talking to Michael about working with St. Vincent de Paul? And I said, well, I don't know. I retired in 2014, and I like it. It's the best job I ever had. So I said, I don't know, I'll think about it. So I talked to my wife, Amy, and she said, yeah, why don't you do that, Gerry? I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I called you, and you said, sure, come to work. And we started. I worked 2 days a week, 8 hours a day, and that was nice. I said, this ain't bad, other people should do this. This is a great job. I mean, we help people. And, I sit in the office, and I make good friends there. And it's a good place to work.
And you see, when you're administering, you see those food dollars, which have gone up because, donations have been impacted by the results of the pandemic. Right. You see all the supplies that we have to buy, but you connect it with the people you see on the campus, don't you?
Oh, yes, daily. I run into somebody, and I'm always talking to the staff that work at the shelters. I know the staff that works at the dining room. We talk to them, because I have to communicate with everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to get some information from them when we get some food in. How much we got this week? Denise sends me a worksheet on what she did for the month.
Yeah.
And so I had to record that. So I need to see what's going on. So I enjoy that.
And your fellow staff members, you mentioned Sharon St. Romain and all the good people at admin, but like Denise Terrence, what a rock star. Huh?
Oh, yeah, she's the best.
Oh, God. And her meals are great. She takes a little and does a lot, doesn't she, Gerry?
She does.
It's fantastic.
And the meals are good.
Yeah,
very nutritious.
Oh, yeah.
Good, so
can't beat
that.
Yeah. Well, Fred, you recruited somebody very close to you. You've been doing a long time at St. Vincent de Paul, but when you come, who else comes with you?
My wife comes with me. She retired, and she saw me every Friday morning get up to go to St. Vincent de Paul, and she has joined me.
Great.
And we're a team.
Yeah.
Every Friday that's what we do, and we look forward to it all week long.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. What a commitment. And you see the volunteer pharmacist in there. You see Kelly Ellis, our pharmacist. I mean, just people that really are really focused on helping those in need.
And it's not just when they hand them a prescription. Kelly will stand there and talk with that individual and ask them how they're doing. And it's almost like you're making friends.
Right.
So it's not just handing a prescription out. There's a personal contact.
Right.
And I can't tell you how many times someone will come in and they will see me and wave, and they'll see Kelly or they'll see Mary, the other pharmacist there, and it's like old friends. So it's not just a work where you're handing things out. You're making contact with people, and you're filling their life with courtesy and care and friendship.
Right, which is so critical. And I think one of the things both of y'all do so well is it's more than a volunteer opportunity. It's more than a job opportunity. And before we went on camera, I was sharing the fact that if there wasn't the faith element and the person element, again, going back to what we said earlier about, for I was hungry, you gave me food. If that wasn't there, I don't think the three of us would be involved. Would you?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. What about you?
No,
This
makes it.
Exactly. It's living our faith, coming together as a community, as you mentioned, Howard and Reverend Witten. It's all about people coming together to work for good, to make a difference. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the great works of St. Vincent de Paul. I promised these two golf buddies that we'll talk a little bit more about golf. But whether it's golf, whether it's helping someone at St. Vincent de Paul, these two men live remarkable lives, and it's because that at their very heart is their faith life. And when we come back, we'll share a little bit more about that life. The Society of St. Vincent de Paul's first cookbook, Taste and See, is the gift which helps share the goodness of the Lord with those most in need. Featuring recipes from Chef John Foles, each chapter begins with a short story about one of our special work programs. To order your copy of Taste and See, please call the Society or visit our website. Help multiply blessings for the neediest in our community. Faith is so important to us at St. Vincent de Paul. It's behind everything we do. And Gerry and Fred are joining me today to talk about their faith lives. And Fred, talk a little bit about who was a person in your life really made an impression on your faith life?
Oh, that's easy.
Yes.
It was my mom. My mother had a very unusual life. She was orphaned. She was born in Ireland, immigrated to America, and was orphaned when she was 8 years old.
Yes.
She grew up saved by Catholic Charities.
Wow.
In foster homes and in orphanages.
Yeah.
All supplied by and financed by Catholic Church.
Yeah.
She grew up then believing that you have to share your faith. Jesus said to be a light unto the world. And that's what she did. And that's what she taught my brother and my sister and I. When she passed away, she asked that her contributions be given to a home in Baltimore where she lived for abused women. You grow up in a household like that, you learn to share.
Right.
And so I'm just doing what my mom taught me to do. I'm volunteering at St. Vincent de Paul, and I love it.
Yeah, and she's up in heaven smiling, I know. I mean, well, that's so powerful.
I
That
hope
is-
so.
Oh, I know that. Gerry, how did your faith life?
Let's see, I grew up in an old Italian family. Both parents are Italian, well, Sicilian actually. And we grew up in North Baton Rouge. And my dad worked 7 days a week, and my mom raised 6 children. And so we would go to Mass on Sundays at 5 o'clock, for 5 o'clock Mass at St. Jared. And so we were just little kids, and, we would go, but we enjoyed it. I mean, we enjoyed Mass. We'd kind of nudge each other and get bored after a little while, but we loved it. And then after Mass, they'd always take us to Krispy Kreme. We'd get donuts, go home. If the donuts made it home, we'd have more donuts. But that's how I grew up, with a loving family. They prayed every night. We prayed at each meal. We were close to all our relatives in Baton Rouge. We all would meet on Sundays for dinner at Grandpa's house,
Yeah.
And they lived by St. Jared. And they lived at Hollywood Street. And that's how we grew up. I mean, we just were all family.
And at one time, St. Jared was the place to be relative that part of Plank Road, and
Yes.
it was just and today it's still a place to be. And the fact that now St. Vincent de Paul serves meals at St.
Right.
Jared,
Yeah.
and you see all the wonderful things Father Tat, the pastor there, is doing. It must have a special feeling in your heart.
It does, because they were devastated by the 2016 flood.
Yes.
And they came back. I mean, they're back.
Yeah.
And they're doing a great job over there.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Poverty was not back then. There was a
What it
St.
is
Vincent de
now,
Paul
right.
group there back
Right.
then, but poverty wasn't like it is today.
That's true.
And so it's powerful to see what the community's doing, isn't it?
It is. And my wife has been instrumental in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, she's helped me get through some hard times, and so she's been wonderful. And she's been going to St. Aloysius since she was she was born in Baton Rouge, baptized at St. Aloysius, and so she's been there ever since. She sings in the choir there. She volunteers after she retired for Altrusis. I don't know if you know the Altrusis.
Yeah.
And she cooked chicken and stewed chicken for 30 people and brought it to Sweet Dreams.
Yeah, that's great.
She cooks for a house for Alzheimer's patients.
That's great.
And we both, my mother died from Alzheimer's, and so we belong to the Alzheimer's Society.
Yeah.
And we have a good neighbor. She's has Parkinson's, and we belong to the Parkinson's. We help out with that, and we go to meetings with them. So it's all about faith and
it is.
helping people and being there for people.
Yeah, that's powerful. It's a powerful example how women shape all our lives, right, Fred? I mean,
Positively.
Yes.
Positively,
No
indeed.
doubt. Yeah, I mean, what would we do without our mothers and our wives? I don't. For me, I can say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's we live in a world, and we don't want to leave our fathers out, but we live in a world that moms are just fabulous, fathers are fabulous, and faith is what makes them so fabulous. Because I think that having that guidance. Do y'all feel that, Fred, in today's world, that's kind of something that might be a little bit missing relative to people are not as faithful or open to going to church or maybe their synagogue as they once were?
Well, that's a hard question to answer, because being volunteers,
Yes.
you begin to see other people.
Yeah.
There are other people who are volunteering, not just at the pharmacy at St. Vincent de Paul,
Right.
but my wife and I did the Thanksgiving meal.
Yes.
The number of volunteers who come out for that. So
Yes.
I think that there's a kind of feeling in the community that, nobody volunteers anymore. They're all interested just in themselves.
Right.
I see a lot of people
And that's good.
who are volunteering.
Right.
Comparing it with how it was 30, 40 years ago, Perhaps it's a little bit less, but I'd prefer to look on the good.
Oh, I agree.
On the good side of things, and I
agree.
see people volunteering and doing good works
Right.
in our community.
I 100% agree, don't you, Gerry?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
Faith is
it's every day.
I think it's every day. Faith it's an invitation for people to come and get involved. And I think you're right. Focus on all the good that's done. You know, when we turn on the television or we look on a story on the internet, it's a lot of times it's negative. But for every negative story, wouldn't you think, Gerry, there's at least 1,000 good ones?
I'm sure there is, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's our faith coming to life, you know. For I was hungry and you gave me food. And I keep hitting on that throughout this episode is because, again, we said it in earlier segments, without the faith, you know, that's what shaped your mother. You know, witnessing the kindness of Catholic Charities and the good work. And, you know, that's what shaped your life, your family, you know, and the St. Jared community. I think our message to everyone would be, Gerry, to get involved with St. Vincent de Paul.
That's right, yes. We have openings and we have openings for volunteers. We have openings for people to come to work. After you retire, come give us come check us out.
That's right. Would you say the same thing, Fred?
Absolutely. And I'd like to add one other thing. Some people say, oh, you're volunteering down there, and they're concerned about, are you safe? We're probably the safest people in the community. Once folks understand that we're connected with St. Vincent de Paul,
Right.
I can't tell you how pleasant it is to park my car, walk over there, because people smile,
Oh, yeah.
people wave. There's a gentleman who lives in a house right next to St. Vincent de
Isn't
Paul.
he great?
And he runs out to see if we need any help on anything. Can I carry anything? Every week he's there. And that's part of the fun of being a volunteer, is that you make friends. And we've got friends there.
Well, thank you, Fred. Thank you, Gerry. Great show. I knew you'd be great. We didn't talk about Augusta. These two guys have been to Augusta. But, you know, whether it's golf or whether it's living your faith, put everything into it. And faith is the critical thing in all of our lives. So if you want to get involved with St. Vincent de Paul, go to svdpdr.org. We'll see you again next week on Beacons of Light.